Hello and welcome. In this section of the tutorial, we will cover document breaks such as page break, section break, that which we can use to create a document. In composing a document with multiple pages, particularly one with many chapter headings, it is sometimes difficult to format the text in such a way that some chapters do not begin at the bottom of the page. It also happens that when writing a paper, report, article, or book with multiple sections, difficulties with headers, footers, footnotes, endnotes, and page numbers occur. Word does not automatically separate a document into sections. As a consequence, the program will duplicate the same headers and footers on each page, as well as continue page numbering and footnotes throughout the document. For instance, when writing a paper with several sections, the header of the first section will automatically appear in the second as well. In order to remedy this, it will be necessary to create a document break, which will indicate to Word how the document is to be partitioned. There are two types of document breaks, namely page breaks and section breaks. These two types are further subdivided into several different kinds of page and section breaks. The page breaks partition only the body text of the document, whereas the section breaks partition both the body text of the document as well as partition page margins, headers and footers, page numbers, and the likes. Among the kinds of page breaks, there are simple page breaks, column breaks, text wrapping breaks. The different kinds of section breaks include next page, continuous, even page, and not breaks. You can see these in the ribbon tab, in the layout tab, under page setup groupings, and the breaks tab. So if we talk about page breaks, as I mentioned earlier, we can see page break, column break, text wrapping break. And within section breaks, we can see next page, continuous, even page, and odd page. So how do we insert a document break? A document break includes page break and section break both. In order to do that, I will first insert a default paragraph or default text which we can use for our further learning sessions. To insert that, I will just type a normal formula equal sign random short form RAND open and close bracket and press enter. So I have entered a default text in Word document. I will copy this whole document and paste it multiple times so that I can create approximate 4 to 5 pages in my document. Now, suppose I write chapter 1 in beginning, then I come down somewhere, I type chapter 2. Similarly, I go down somewhere, I type chapter 3 just for my reference so that understanding this becomes easy and simple. Alright, then chapter 4, if I am not wrong, it should be 4, correct? 4. Then I come here, chapter 5. I go to my first page by pressing Control Home. I will just give basic formatting to these. I click on chapter 1, click on heading, chapter 2, heading 1, styles, chapter 3, heading 1, chapter 4, heading 1, then chapter 5, heading 1. I've just given basic simple formatting. Now we will learn how to give breaks. To insert a document break, first we need to identify where we would like to give a break. So if I want to give a break break means my first chapter is on this page and my second chapter must start from the next page. So I must click before the content where I need to give a break. It is best to point the cursor and click on the very beginning of the next section. So this would be my first section and this would be my second section. Now I go to my layout tab. Under layout tab, I go to breaks and then I click on page. When we do this, you will observe that we have broken this into two different document breaks and we have used under layout, under breaks, page break option. This says mark the point at which one page ends and the next page begins. I will press Ctrl Z now. We can do the same thing by shortcut command, which is Ctrl Enter. Ctrl Enter also stands for page break. We will see as it is there's some space left at the end of this page, but this is starting from the next page. That is called as a page break. Now I can do the same thing for my remaining chapters. But let me tell you that right now we are using page breaks and we are not using section break. This is next page. I press delete. I get this on previous page again. Now I will tell you what is section break and what is the difference between page break and section break. As mentioned in this video at the start, that suppose we want to take care of headers, footers, margins, and there has to be different header, different footer, different margins for different chapters and different pages, then section break is a must. But if we don't need to take care or we don't need different headers and different footers, different margins for different pages, then page break is enough. For example, I go to my view tab, I go to my insert tab and I go to my header option. In my header, I type the name of my first chapter. So my name of my first chapter is chapter 1. If we see, I have typed chapter 1 on first page. The same thing would be repeated on all the pages till the end. But I don't want chapter 1 to appear on all pages. In fact, my header should be dependent on the chapter name. So if I do page break, I press Ctrl Enter, chapter 2. This header of chapter 2 must be as chapter 2. I have made my second page at chapter 2, but the problem is that if I go to my first page again, this would be chapter 1. Chapter 2, which in fact should be chapter 1. Now the point which should be noted is that in order to ensure that different pages must have different headers depending upon the chapters. So my chapter 2 is here, my chapter 3 is on page number 3, my chapter 4 is on page number 4, my chapter 5 is on page number 5, correct? So my header of page 1, which is chapter 1, should be 1, 2 should be 2, 3 should be 3, and 4 should be 4, and then it should go on and on and on. In this case, we must do section break. When I click right now on chapter 2, I would see footer and header appearing here. But when I go to layout, break, and when I click on next page, you would observe, now that the header is called a section 2 and the header on this page is called section 1. When we do section break, you will see that this page is a different section and this page is a different section, and remaining pages would be again section 2, because we have right now broken a document into only two different sections. If I want again this chapter to be a different header, then what will I do? I will again go to layout, breaks, and then next page. And when you observe here, this would be again section 3. Now, if I make this chapter 2 as chapter 3, because my chapter 3 is appearing on this page, will my previous page's header remain the same, or it would change to chapter 3? If you go and see, no, it changes to 3. It should be in fact 2, so I make it 2. If I make this 2, what will happen to the next section? It will again change to 2. So what should be done now? In this case, after breaking a document into different sections, we go to Design tab, and under Design tab, we go to Link to Previous, an option under Navigation. This link to previous says that my current section, I am on header right now, section 3, you can see, is linked to my previous section, which is section 2. So whatever changes I make in this section would be reflected in the previous section, and whatever changes I make in my previous section will be reflected in this same section. So when we are on chapter 3, I would click on link to previous. It would delink my current section with all the previous sections. Now if I make this 2 as 3 and I go to my previous section, it is not changed, it's still 2. But if I make any changes here, it would reflect on my previous section, which is section 1. So I would need to delink this also, so that if I make any changes here, it should not reflect here. Now I have delinked both sections. This is 1, this is 2, this is 3. But if you go further, we would see this is still 3 and the next is still 3. Similarly, we have to go to chapter 4, we go to layout, breaks, and next page. Go to chapter 5, breaks, next page. So we again come here, link to previous off, I make it as 5. I go to this, link to previous off, and I make it 4. And I close my footer and header. Now I can see that all my pages have different headers. Similarly, suppose if I want to begin, now first I will do what? I will go to insert and insert a page number here. I go to bottom of page, somewhere on right hand side, I have inserted page numbers. So for 5 pages, I will have different numbers till page number 5. Suppose I want to begin this from second page, and my first page will have my index. So what shall we do? We will again go to layout, breaks, and next page. So my chapter 1 is beginning from this. But remember, my chapter 1 has to be page number 1. So what should we do? We go to page number. When you click on this page number, design tab starts. In the design tab, we go to page number. We click on format page numbers and start at 1 and then OK. But we need to remove this previous page number. So what should we do? We should again come down and link to previous should be off. Then we come and then we select and then we delete page number, and then we can have this as it is. This is the difference between page break and section break. Page break is typically used when we need to start something from new page always, and section break when we need to take care of different headers and footers, different page settings everywhere. So we use something called as section break. Now, having covered the basics of how to create a document break, we will now turn our attention into the types of document breaks which may be there in this software. The first type of document break which we have discussed is called as a page break, which only partitions the body text of the document. Of this type, there are three kinds of page breaks. One is a simple page break, the other is column page break, and text wrapping page break. We have discussed about a simple page break. Now we'll discuss about column break. In column break, what happens? I select the content and I go to my layout option. In that layout option, I convert them into two different columns, for example. So if my document uses columns, and when inserting a column break in a column, the text to the right of the cursor where the break is inserted is forced to the next column. Can you see the difference? I do Control Z. So if my cursor is before 2, I go to breaks, I click on column, it will start from the next column. That's called as a column break. Next is my text wrapping break. So if I have some object here right now in my text, I give it wrapping option. Now, if there is any text within wrapping, and any text to the right of the cursor will move below the object or the image. That's called as text wrapping. I can repeat this once more. Any text which is within the wrap portion and on the right side of the cursor that would move to the below the image in fact. Next, we come to section break. In section break, we have next page, continuous, even, not page. The next page break forces the text to the right of the cursor to the following page, as well as partition the document into sections, allowing for change in margins, headers and footers, as well as differently numbered pages and footnotes. This is most useful when your document must be divided into chapters or sections, as we have discussed in this video. After the next page break is created, a new section may be formatted separately from the first and vice versa while still remaining part of the same document. Again, when formatting page numbers, which will begin anew for each section, it will be necessary to go to format page number and select format page number and start at 1 to get the page number starting from 1. The second type is continuous break. A continuous break allows for the partition of a document and allowing the user to change headers and footers, page numbers, margins without having to alter or otherwise move the body text of the document. So if I do any break which is continuous, it would just do a break here, but it would not move it to the next page. This kind of section break is most useful when a document has already been composed in part or in full, but still requires different formatting such as the footnotes, headings or pagination in separate sections of the work. This allows for one section of a document to end and another to begin on the same page. The next is called as an even page. An even page break will shift all the text to the right of the cursor to the top of the next even page. And similarly, an odd page break will move the text to the right of the cursor to the top of the next odd page. I hope this video clears the doubt about all types of breaks, page breaks, section breaks, and page numbering. You can always contact me on my email ID, which is osaidkoti@gmail.com. I will be more than happy to help any one of you for any sort of doubt. Thank you. Thank you very much. Do take care.